What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Legends of Zegan. And it's really exciting because I'm recording this episode again. We had some technical difficulties the first time. I'm joined today with a legendary person. This guy is an author. He's an entrepreneur. He's a dad. He's up to big things in life. I'm really excited to introduce you all to Juan Kingsbury. Juan, what is up, man?
What's up? Yeah, re-record, reboot.
Reboot, yes. Yeah. Take two.
Yeah.
No, man, I'm really pumped that you're here because we've been wanting to do this podcast for a while. I also forgot to mention that Juan is also a podcaster, which is kind of the synergy that allowed us to connect. And Juan, you are up to so many big things. And of course, everybody here knows that we interview legendary people, and we're talking everyday heroes, people out there who are trying to achieve more for themselves than just, the bare minimum. And you are 100% achieving that. So kudos to you, my friend.
Thank you.
Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah.
I want to really dive in and give everybody a sense of who Juan Kingsbury is. And I want to dive into kind of the origin story.
Sure.
So fill me in a little bit about where you've come from, where you began.
Yeah, Death Valley, like The Undertaker. No, I'm born and raised Phoenix, Arizona. I moved away as a baby when my dad was in the Army, lived in Germany for a stint, but I was very, very small for the most part. Came back and only left again when I went to work for Disney World. I was an intern there during 9/11. We actually shut down the park. But other than that, born and raised Phoenician. Probably always will be. My wife and I both work with global people, so now that we have kids, we've decided let's travel a lot more. But likely it'll take us afar. But we love Phoenix. We live in technically Midtown, but we've been downtown, either in downtown or adjacent for the last 15 years. And we have seen it change so much. So mainly raised on the more formative teenage years in Peoria, Arizona, Northwest Phoenix. Grew up in North Central Phoenix. But that's kind of the origin. Dad's from Mexico, mom's from Texas.
Okay.
And no hablo inglés, but I speak a little bit of Spanish, but not really. I got a brother. Married for 10 years, known my wife for 20 years. We just hit our 21st anniversary.
Yeah, wow.
2.5-year-old son and a 5-month-old baby. So we got lucky enough to be parents late in life. We're IVF parents, so I can go on a tangent about that. Never thought we'd be making babies that way, but grateful for our miracle babies. But we're done. Maybe we might get 10 more dogs, but and maybe adopt one day. But that's the fast version of who I am outside of the business stuff.
I love that. No, thanks for the quick elevator pitch on who you are, and we're going to dive into a few things that I think I'd like to hone in on. And so I want to understand, because you are really focused now on helping leaders understanding people, their people. You also are very intuitive as a person, and I'm curious, what were you like as a kid?
Well, it's funny because I think I'm aware of it now, but even when you said you're focused, I'm like, no, I'm not. Where'd you get that idea, Dave? But also I wanted to not interrupt, but hey, why was I worthy for Legends of Zegan? And what was that for your audience? But as a kid, I wasn't focused as we had the, at first it's oh, shucks. You text me hey, can we do this again? And I'm like, yeah, I felt like I was a little too polished, and maybe not even polished, but I talked way more than I would have liked to for this type of show. But anything but focused as a kid. I saw myself more as lazy, a nerd in a bad way. I think being a nerd is actually the secret to happiness.
Yes.
But back then it was more of isolated and not necessarily, not I wasn't included, but I had no place to feel like myself. My name is Juan Kingsbury. I don't fit in anywhere, so I fit in everywhere. It became my superpower. I had to, I was the more lighter skinned cousin when I went to one side of the family, and then in my Mormon dominated neighborhood of high school and grade school, I was the brown kid who, one of three, in high school a little bit more, but and never from a race or other stuff. Not to say I didn't see that happen. But for me, that wasn't the issue. It was just like, where's your name from? And it was just always like, I always stuck out, and I kind of, it was more annoying. But then as an adult, I was like, oh, I'm always interesting and other people aren't. Now, that's not true, but I realized I had years of, I know how to like make myself relevant relatively quickly. But until then, I definitely saw myself as lazy, would not try hard in school, would do the bare minimum, really didn't understand. Like I knew how to read, but I didn't know how to read for like comprehension. And math, I was kind of okay in. I could kind of socialize, or I would socialize, played sports, but didn't really like thrive in anything. And what's the other word I felt like? Not lazy. Oh, weak. But then the more I thought about it, I was like, you know what? When push came to shove, I knew I was none of those things. But that was kind of default. Like, Juan, you don't try hard. Like inner talk. I don't try hard in school. I really don't have that big of a friend group. And you're not strong or this or that. And like all of those things, especially even as a kid, I could tell you otherwise. Like, no, this, and this. But that was kind of like the default narrative that I had in my head. And a lot of different things. There's probably a couple of what do they call them, flashpoints where things change. But with my career today, and like you said, I help leaders. I am trying to focus more, and there's been a lot of progress. It's been great, but it's more of like, yes, I'm trying to increase my impact, but it's not just for them. It's because I'm like, I know we can do better, but I have to do better. How do I make this more palatable, accessible? I deal in personality assessments, and there are a dime a dozen, and kind of like cardio, whatever gets you off the couch, but kind of like, Beyonce probably pays a trainer a lot more money than just going to a Zumba class because of the optimization, the effectiveness.
Yeah.
I'm interested in like, how do we get people to hit their goals, not necessarily just do the reps. And so when it comes to leaders, I don't expect any leader, manager, anyone who's got responsibility and a fire at their back to have a lot of compassion for their team if they don't have it for themselves. So long way to come back to, yeah, I didn't have focus. Apparently I've had ADHD. That's kind of like the trend. It's, it's in style, but the more I understand it, and I'm far from an expert, but as the person who has it, I was like, oh, not everyone's brain works this way. I have this kind of, I don't want to call it empathy superpower, but I get it. I get when you put a certain type of person in a certain type of work environment, I just see ones and zeros, and I can start making, you ever see Moneyball?
Yes. Great movie.
That's all I'm doing all day long. I can't stop it. And I can teach it enough to other people so they can hire people that are actually going to complement them or help the individual pursue a job where they actually, at the very least, are going to be paid what they deserve or what they believe they deserve, if not find that fulfillment, and hopefully both. So that's a longer answer for you.
No, that's perfect. And honestly, that's kind of the goal of the pod here, is to kind of uncover the psyche, the natural abilities that you have, but also where they came from. And so, long answers, more than welcome, my friend.
Yeah.
And I do want to ask a little bit more about the childhood, because I think that as I'm getting older, I'm really fascinated by a lot of people who have these really, either really interesting upbringings, right? Growing up, or they live this kind of like really generic childhood and then skyrocketed.
Yeah.
And there was a pivotal moment, and I hope we can find that.
Yeah.
You may already know it, but in the context of you teaching leaders and just your way of being and teaching other people, were you like that as a kid? Were you a leader as a kid? Because you definitely have that personification now as a person.
Great question. Definitely not, or at least I didn't feel like one.
Okay.
But I think if you were to ask like friends or like, there were glimpses of it, but not like, hey, Juan, what are we doing this weekend? Hey, like I wasn't rallying the people. And really, when I think back, I'm like, oh, I probably could have, but I didn't. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a lot of people, actually. I mean, the word leader is such a generic or general term. I really think if you want fulfillment, you have to be a leader at the very least of yourself.
Yeah.
But different podcasts I did or interviewed someone, like there's a thin line between volunteering and delegating. Like you can volunteer your services, but if you're really making a dent in whatever you're doing, you have to start telling other people this is how you can help. And that's where a lot of people, oh, I don't want to be the boss. I don't want to whatever. But yeah, as a kid, it was more, I didn't want to be a burden. As my therapist would say, hypervigilance. You know, I was very aware of less than nurturing adults. And not that it was terrible, you know, I mean, actually right there, I'm already defending, and I won't get into the dirty details, but everyone, even like you imply, you know, some people have this kind of generic stuff. Like we don't know what people were raised with, even if they had 3 meals a day and all this stuff, you don't know, especially psychologically. And even the kids who did have, you know, a great upbringing, this or that, you never know what they saw walking home from school one day. Off topic, but kind of relative. Like one time I was walking home from school, I was probably 10, and there's this trash bag on the side of the street. And it's a little gruesome, especially pet owners might want to skip ahead. But I'm 10, don't know any better, and me and this kid are jumping on this trash that is out on the street, and we can't crush it. And long story short, it was a cat, dead cat. Oh my God. And I remember we were like, we ran home, and it didn't scar us, but every now and again I remember, like, we thought we were jumping like on an arm or like a dummy's arm, and his neighbor's like, what are you doing jumping on my dead cat? We're like, what the hell?
What is your dead cat doing out here?
My point is that didn't traumatize me, but I could totally understand someone else.
Sure.
You know, it's like a dog barks at you. Some people are deathly afraid of dogs. Other people are like, no, I got a fun story. And so growing up hyper vigilant and basically like, I don't want to make things worse. And it sounds great, but it's really a character flaw, at least towards my own happiness, is taking responsibility for other people's emotional state. Or basically I'm hyper aware of people being dysregulated. Like, oh, Dave's nervous for the interview. He's not, he's doing great. But not Dave's a bad guy, but what's going on in my head is like, how do I put him at ease?
Sure.
And then sometimes I overcorrect him. How do I make him laugh? How do I make him the funniest podcast? It's like, turn that off. And again, I realized that's not a character flaw. And in fact, before I realized the clinical stuff behind this, I mean, I'd already built a business, got married, had kids, you know, like I just recently discovered these psychological labels. But I realized, oh, that is what has fueled my, I don't know, this sounds arrogant, but my greatest work, or at least my most engaged. Like when I'm focused and I'm making a podcast or I'm building a business, especially those, I've been in business for myself not quite 15 years, been working in the industry almost 20. But when I would tell people, I don't work hard, I'm not busy, and I'm like, that's not true. But what it was is, oh, I'm in this element and I'm just firing in all cylinders, and then I'm freaking tired.
Sure.
And so I realized, oh, I kind of like almost like an X-Man or a superhero. Like I could kind of make this thing happen on my own. But until recently, and I'd say like in the last maybe 18 months, do I realize like this is how I can make it start without like kind of like start a fire on a lighter versus having to like, you know, and try to,
right.
So yeah, as a kid, I felt very like meek, I think is more of a good word, at least biblically, but I felt don't bother people, you know, and very funny. I think on the last podcast you gave me that credit, and I like being funny, but I also realized that that's a social survival skill. It's a way to say I'm annoyed at you without saying that, you know, and often that can easily spill into passive aggressive. So yeah, that's how I was growing up. I liked comic books before they were cool. Maybe not so much anime as much as people like it today, but I like things like I never identified as a punk rocker, but I always liked the idea of like original punk rock.
Yeah.
It's like, we don't care if we're shitty. It's our music. It's not for you. That's why we're doing it. And I very much like, almost like gangster rap. I love gangster rap.
Yes.
But I didn't think I was a gangster, but I loved that kind of like, F you for doing this thing to me or whatever it was. And I felt that way with like, I don't care if you don't like this book that actually I didn't read a lot of books that didn't have pictures of Spider-Man, but I liked what I liked, and I wasn't apologetic for it. I wasn't very braggadocious around it either, but that has always been with me. And especially as an entrepreneur, now it's like my 1-2 punch, or at least one aspect of like, I'm going to do what I like.
Yeah.
And the right people are going to support me. And if there's not enough of them, then I'll rethink it. But until then, I'm going to enjoy my day.
That's very cool. I find that interesting because it doesn't seem like you've really strayed far from who you were as a youngster, as a child, to who you are today, only maybe just like leveled up, but
Yeah,
really,
it's
is that
funny.
a fair assessment, or would you disagree?
I think it's fair. There's definitely like, you ever watch like a really good TV show? Let's say it's 7, 8 seasons, but there's like one season where you're like, it was bad, just skip that one.
Yeah.
Like in my 20s, I didn't drink alcohol till I was like 22, 23. I came from a family of a lot of, I saw a lot what alcohol does, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like I didn't ever smoke weed, nothing. And I was like, I'm too lazy. Like, I was like, I don't want to, I got to go hang out with people to do that stuff. But in my late to or mid, just before my mid 20s, around there, I started drinking a lot and socializing, and I kind of grew out of my shell, not even a shell, my like a desire to hang out, especially at night. And I had a lot of fun, but then I started making money and I could drink more, and that fun kind of went down. There's a Sia song about like cheap thrills.
Yes,
and I was like,
yes.
oh, that was like the good days of going out, where like I had to make this, $20 go for 8 hours or however long it was
you
going.
feel accomplished.
There's sometimes when my wife and I were going to bed, like last night, it was late. It was like 9:15.
Oh.
Like, we need to go to bed. And I was like, Courtney, what's funny? I used to wake up at this time and start getting ready to go out. And she's like, what? So there is like that. I wouldn't say it wasn't me, but it was like because I was very energetic and out, or socially outgoing. And it was fun to make people laugh, but it ended up being a coping mechanism. I mean, when you involve alcohol with most things, take away alcohol from most sports, those people don't really like fantasy football that much.
Right.
And I'm not saying some people don't, but the masses, alcohol is a social lubricant.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are using it as a crutch, and not a judgment, but back then, as much as the beginning was fun, my social drinking era was this was really like this. I was like, I can't tell you what day or weekend or this or that. And especially mathematically, when I started traveling, I'm like, what if I don't drink as much? Or what if I was like, I'm going to save up for a year and go to Europe. Like, I've never done anything like that before. Like, young people who are like 18, 19 who travel the world, like, still impress me to this day. I've traveled a lot now, but to be that young and to go on an adventure, and I mean, now it's different with the internet, but still, you're physically traveling around the world, and with civil unrest and politics, it's, you're still a risk. But anyway, I was like, I'm gonna give myself a year. 2 months later, I had enough money to get to Europe.
Wow.
And I did, and so I was like, it wasn't even so much, oh, drinking's terrible. It's like, I could do a lot of other things that I'd actually like and enjoy. And by no means, like, on a scale of simple math, 1 to 10, 10 the most confident, fulfilled, I'd say in the last 15 years of being a business owner, I'm vacillating between like a 4 and a 9.5. The last couple years, like a 7 and an 8. But my wife and I did IVF. There was a pandemic. I'm not sure if you remember that.
Yeah.
But I was a 2 for a long time. And then I remember I got to a 4 and I'm like, well, this was a lot better. But then I'm like, I'm at a 6. That's therapy and medication and like prescribed, not self. And I'm like, damn, I'm stuck at a 6. I remember I used to be like an 8. Like, how do I, and it's kind of like your phone, like, it just won't charge the battery anymore, or when you get a brand new, you're like, oh, my phone actually lasted for a couple of days. And so, I think I've always been myself individually, and I think that's why I like podcasts. And that's actually a relatively new aha. It's like, I'm my best self, or I feel like my whole self when I'm podcasting, whether it's just me and someone like yourself, me and my wife, or me and a business person or a brand new person, doesn't matter. There's something about the dynamic of, I'm going to be me and I want you to be you, so we could say something interesting, so that person who's given us their time actually gets some nuance that is going to help them, make them laugh, something constructive. Because there's a lot of fucking negative things in the world. I want to make something, and it's like, man, something about podcasts just turns it on. And there's other times where I feel that way, but I'd say 9.9 times out of every podcast, I feel like myself, but that is not the constant.
Interesting. I don't think you're alone in that. And I don't know if that's something, do you think that's something that would ever change for you? Or do you think that's just your way of being?
Yeah. I'd like to think I would double down, but like we're sitting here at Galvanize, which has been my co-working space home for 6+ years.
Shout out to
And
Galvanize.
shout out to Galvanize. Thank them. Thank Caitlin and Miranda and all the business and coworkers, past and future. But sponsors, if all of a sudden Galvanize or Bank of America was like, hey, here's 50 grand a month to make blah, blah, blah. Like on one hand, I'm like, oh man, the things I could make, but also the shit I'm going to say, even the word shit. Now Bank of America is going to come and say, hey, don't say something like this.
You can't say that, yeah.
And Charles Barkley, I don't know if you ever watched Inside the NBA. Like I subscribe. I love him. He reminds me of like my dad or family, but also he says a lot of dumb stuff. And sometimes he says dumb stuff just because he knows he can say whatever he wants.
Yeah.
And that's something where I'm like, yeah, the more money you have, the more wild shit you can say. I don't want to wait until I have a lot of money until I say things that I believe. But also, I don't want to just say wild stuff, keep cursing or lightly cursing. And so the thought of taking money from a sponsor, wouldn't say no, but I'm not in a hurry to do it. But at the same time, as I kind of think this through talking to you, but I've had this conversation with myself and others, I love firing clients. Not that they're bad people, but it's like, hey, I'm not what you need anymore.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And if you ever like, hey, Juan, there's a better coach or team workshop, like my ego is going to be bruised for a little bit. But when I understand their reasons, it's like, it's okay. It's like someone saying, hey, let's get married. I want to have 12 kids and live on a farm and blah, blah. I'm like, I don't want that. Like breaking up is not a bad thing.
Right.
Actually, staying together with someone that you don't feel like yourself, that's the crime, or that's the sad thing. So I'd like to think that I would stick to my guns, or beliefs and values. That's actually the goal of all of this, because having values and mission, that's the easy part. It's living them. That's the hard part.
Yes.
And really the hard part, but this is the hack, is forgiving yourself. You're gonna diverge. What spiritually, it's, what do you call it? Repent. You just course correct. But business, they just use that word. It's like, hey, we said we always believe in this, but oh, you know what? We did this. Let's fix it. Let's own it, fix it. Or don't own it, but just stop saying that that's what we believe in anymore, or that's what we uphold. So, money complicates things, but also it doesn't. It just amplifies what you already believe in. So, but we'll see. If someone offers me $1 million tomorrow to do a podcast, you hold me accountable.
I'm gonna be like, you said.
Yeah. Hey, Juan.
Well, I low-key hope that might happen for you.
I would love that. That's a good problem.
That would be a great problem to have. Yes, absolutely. Now, I like that segue though, because you talk about, people who are, well, actually, I'm going to backtrack a second, because I don't want to jump into that yet, but I do want to ask you, as a younger person, you seem to me like the type of person who's not only a goal setter, but a goal like checker. Like you actually are checking off lists and goals and continuing to grow in that realm. I myself am a goal setter, but I'm not a goal achiever, because I get distracted. So I'm curious for you though. Are you both? Do you set goals and then crush them?
I'm going to answer that question, but I feel like, and I've done this before, but I forget how, or there's a video that it encapsulates, and I think the guy's actually, his name is Juan. He's an artist. He's one of those people who can just hear, kind of like a police sketch artist.
Yeah.
But will draw someone with really accurate.
Oh, wow.
And he draws these two women, and they describe themselves, and they see them pictures, and they're very kind of no filter kind of thing, sad looking. But then they go and they swap. And the one woman tells the artist about what the other woman looks like. Well, those pictures are bright, and again, he's really accurate. And so they swap, and you get crying, you get tears. It's like the way we see ourselves, it's not the way that other people see us.
Right.
And I'm going to flip that too, because I'm like, not that I think I'm chaos personified, but fuck no, am I not a goal setter? When I quit my job, or you have my book, and we'll plug it, and thank you for that.
Yeah.
I was going to burn the building down, or I mean, not literally, but I was so upset. And then I realized I'm the problem. But I didn't leave to go start a business. I left because I was the problem, and I got tired of working at that company.
Yeah.
And I don't get me wrong, I do accomplish a lot. And even like I'm post baby, our first kid, first IVF baby, our son. And I'll have these times where I'm like, man, I'm lazy. You know, Dave's working for Local First and he's doing this other stuff. And I saw him on social media and he's socializing. And this, especially with the pandemic, I would do that a lot more. But I'm like, how did I get a baby? How did we make it through IVF? Me, my wife and I, how do we afford this house in Midtown Phoenix? It is way more house than we ever thought we'd get in this crazy real estate land. I've not had a real job for over almost 15 years. And asked the bank when I bought the house. That was an interesting magic trick.
I bet, yeah.
I have great credit. Like, does a lazy person, like a lot of that is luck, but also I'm the one who took the risk. Now, calculated risk, but I'd rather F up doing something that I'm not even believing, but interested in than be complacent. Now, I get complacent a lot, but this is not a bunny trail, but it's like, I'm better today at like getting the chaos out of my brain. But in terms of getting organized, planning, on one hand, I want to say, yeah, I'm really great at it, but because I don't do it like we've been sold. Now, not that to say it's wrong, but it's like, are bodybuilders and CrossFitters healthy? Yeah. But also, no. Because a lot of them are physically healthy, and there's a thing called the hedonic treadmill where you are insecure, and that's why the people who juice and take steroids will never stop, because they're some of the most insecure people ever, because they're ripping muscles and their abs and their butts and all this stuff is never good enough for them. So would a lot of us like to have their 12-pack? Sure. But their self-esteem, you know, I'd rather be Lizzo than a lot of other people. Yes. And what I realized is like, look, it works to some degree, but if it worked in the way that we wanted for the masses, all the gyms would be different, you know? And I like lifting weights. I like doing cardio, but I'll bring it down to this. If you were to take like a Fitbit and you put it on someone at the gym, and let's say like an elite athlete for a week, a month, I don't know. And then you put it on my son who goes to daycare every day. Who do you think is going to burn more calories? He's not on some regimen and discipline schedule. They are, and I'm not taking anything away, but I realize when I'm playing and being creative, it's not easy. It's anything but I'm in the effing zone and I'm never done. And even when I'm exhausted, I'll keep going. So I was like, I can tap into that in a way that David Goggins and Joe Rogan and all these other impressive men, they're limited. Yeah. And I'm not going to go kickbox them or but I realized like, yeah, that punk rock contrarian part of me is like, stop playing other people's game. So in terms of hitting those kind of goals, I crush it. Yeah. Self-care, I was doing that way better than everyone else. And then I also forget to do it as well as I could be doing it. But I think what I'm really good at, as opposed to, hey, here's a plan, because there are people like higher project managers. Like those people are way better at hitting goals, especially than me. That's why I married my wife. She's way better at it. Smart. Or I should say that was one of the aspects. But what I am good at, I'm a quitter. If I'm not committed to something, I'm done. And sometimes will it be a little slower to quit or curtail, like cut your losses. But I see so many people, like you said the word, but you didn't have that. I didn't have that cringe feeling when I heard you say, oh, I've been busy. Because it sounded like you're busy spending time with people you care about, love doing the things. Now, do you still maybe bite off more than you can chew and a night to die? Fair. But I'd say 80, if not much higher % of people who say they're busy doing shit that I'm like, why? Yeah. Who's holding a gun to your head? Yeah. We live in America, or at least a version of it, where you can kind of do and change things as much as you would want. Not fair and equal for everyone, but also if all of a sudden you lost your arm tomorrow, would your day be a little differently? Well, no, today you have two, so fucking clap. Like, I don't know why my brain works of like, it's hot. Oh, I don't want to be. But you know what? In 6 months, it's going to be cold. Let me go jump in the pool. Like, I I'm not the most grateful person. I work on it, but I'm just like, let me stop complaining about this thing and go do what I want. Even saying that to you, I'm like, oh, I could be way better at it. But I think it's just a natural thing where if I'm not committed to something, I say no. And other people, I realize they have like this, I don't know, Catholic guilt or some type of societal pressure of no, quitters never win or whatever that stupid shit is. Not stupid, antiquated. It doesn't work for everyone. If it was working for you and it has the relationships and you have great sex and all the other things that you say are important to you, great. Screw me. It doesn't matter. But I don't think that's true for a lot of people who subscribe to those things.
I agree. I don't think it is. I really don't think it is. But I like that you put it in that context. And I also want to pick up on something because we were talking about goal setting and stuff. And you're just like, that's not me, right? You do have aspirations to go do things because you want to try them, but not because it's a goal on a vision board or anything like that. But I did notice you picked, I think you've said it 3 or 4 times now. Go back and watch. We'll see. But you self-proclaimed yourself as lazy. And I like that and I respect that because you know that about yourself, but it's not necessarily, in my mind, something that's inherently negative, right? It's something that you know about yourself. But also it's like, yes, I'm lazy, but I also like, I do things, you know what I mean? And so can you talk about that though?
Yeah. Actually, so earlier as we were preparing, I was like, the way I thought of myself, which is not true of today, but I'm glad you said that because there's something, remind me to talk about discipline. Yeah. Because that was another word. That's the opposite of lazy to me, or was. Lazy, a nerd, and weak. And even back then, I think if you'd said, hey, 13-year-old Juan, do you think you're lazy, a nerd, and weak? And I'd be like, yeah. But are there times when you're not those things? I'd be like, oh yeah, I had to dig a hole for my dad, or I had to walk 4 miles to return this book and did it. And you'd be like, what? You walked 4 miles in this? I remember I told kids that. They're like, what? Or one time, I think I was 7th, 8th grade, I got in a fight with my friend. Shout out Brent Cool. A very tall young man. He looked like a teacher. And we were friends most of the time. But he did something and I said something that I knew was going to trigger him. And he just started raining fist on my head. And I didn't realize I had this reputation for not being afraid of anyone because they thought I was crazy for fighting him. And I'm like, is that a weak person who fights a kid but again, I didn't think of myself that way. Today, to your point, I was like, I'm not lazy. I know when I'm tired and I'm really ahead of the curve when it comes to recharging. It's one thing your phone's on 20% battery. Yeah, stop using the apps, dim the lights. It's another thing to plug it back in. I know how to plug in and other people don't. And other people have excuses and reasons. Yeah, I know how to get those reasons out of the way for myself, but also for other people. And sometimes I'm like, this is too easy. But also, you know what's easy? When you have energy. You know what's hard? When you don't have energy. Yes. And so it's like, again, I keep saying spiritual, but it's like, forgive them for they know not what they do. I'm like, Juan, you got to give them a break. Yes, they're frustrating you, them being clients, friends, family, but you're the one who got 8 hours of sleep last night. Yeah. They're the ones who are taking pride that their sleep sucks and they're putting in 60 hours of work, whatever. And you can't tell them not to do that. But if they are committed, and that's the hard part, a lot of people aren't committed. A lot of people are the dog on the nail who want to whine as opposed to get off of it. It hurts, but not bad enough. Right. I've been that person. I probably will be again. But lazy, I realized, no, it's not lazy. Especially I just did 40 hours of podcasts in the last, 2 weeks on the side. Oh, that wasn't work. No, but now I ain't doing shit this weekend. Yeah. So I'm much better at the unplugging or the plugging in. Whereas nerd, and I like that word, actually, that's your secret sauce for whatever you nerd out on, and you're like, I don't care who likes this, whether it's data maps, that's a younger friend, whether it's podcasting, like if it's something that the rest of the world's like, boo, you suck, and you're still like, I don't care. Go in, I'm not saying follow the passion, but if it's close to that, it's something like I want to get better at it and other people need it. Like if you're a nerd about something, I talk trash about fantasy football. I have a friend, very close friend, best friend, Justin Foster, who like truly loves NFL or football in general, especially NFL. He's a nerd about it. I love going to people like sharing in their thing.
Yes.
Like if you were like, hey, I don't know, micro machines. Is that still a thing? I don't know. Or air conditioning or whatever. And you're like, hey, would you go to this convention? Like, if you loved it, yeah. Am I going to be converted? Probably not. But to watch someone in their element, I would do that. If I'm like FU money rich, that's all I would do. Oh, hey, you want to go to your I don't know why I said micro machines, but
I love that,
you want to go to your obscure
yes.
thing. So to me, I'm like, I see myself. I still read comic books, not just see the movies.
Mm-hmm.
I still, I'll listen to Taylor Swift or pop. Like, I don't care if I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
And what was the last one? Oh, weak, which I bench press, I squat. I hurt myself squatting because I do too much. I will do yard work. I dig hole. Like, I like doing that stuff, not because I have to, because I can.
Yeah.
And it's my house. But also when I don't want to, I'm going to pay someone, assuming I have the funds and the ability to do that. So I realized, oh, these negative labels, to your point or observation, they are me, but I see them in way more, not even a positive light, a neutral light. And when I'm living life right, I'm like living up to my values of like, look, I don't want to be 40 hours a week giving in B+ effort. I think it's rare that someone will be A+, 60 hours a week. People can say that,
Yeah.
but send me your therapy bill.
Yes.
And that's assuming you're getting paid well and you're getting vacation time. So I'm like, no, I'm like, LeBron James isn't amazing 40 hours a week. Actually, the reason he's amazing in the game this long is because he rests.
Yes.
And because he works on other stuff and he plays Madden and all this other stuff that is interesting to him. And so that's where I'm like, no, I am those words, but now I can really own it.
Yeah, I like that. No, that's really cool that you broke it down. And also I find that you're really calling out the balance, right? Like we always talk about, our drive and our success or our pursuit of it, and this aspiration to do all these good things. Mm-hmm. And we never give respect to that downtime, that lazy time. And you balance it in a way that you give as much truth to the laziness as you do to those.
And don't get me wrong,
things.
like I'll put my daughter down. She's 5 months and she's fussy or she's kind of feeding, and I kind of wedge the bottle so I don't have to hold it. I'll be playing my game. Yeah. And I'm like, Juan, you wanted a baby for so long, and look at your credit card bill because she didn't come the traditional way. Why are you wasting time on your phone? I used to judge myself really harshly, but then sometimes I'm like, it's fine.
Yeah.
And then other times I'm like, no, put it down and just stare at her. Like, this scarcity and urgency are great motivators.
Yeah.
But if you want fulfillment, those will not get you there. Or even if they do, it will not be sustainable.
Yeah.
But if you don't know how to actually find fulfillment and cultivate it, I don't blame people for operating on this like hamster wheel. You ever see Fight Club? The
Love
whole
that movie.
I get why that happens. But also this is why I think spirituality, not necessarily religion, but knowing what you value and walking the line, not just saying it. Not just saying I'm Republican or Democrat or I'm capitalist or I don't give a shit, man. I told you before. I'm like, you're a consultant, you're a Christian. Those are 2 C words that mean nothing to me. And if you lead with them, I'm not suspect, but I'm still wondering, what is it that you offer this world? Because right now you're trying. It's like wearing a Letterman's jacket in high school. It's like, I don't know how good you are.
Yeah.
Like, you got a jacket that counts for something. I'm not saying it doesn't.
Yes.
It's like having an MBA. If I say I'm a master of Kung Fu, you might think Juan can kick my ass. But if I say I'm a master of business administration, you're not necessarily going to give me a bunch of money. Yeah, I can kick his ass and take his money. But so my point is, like, we have all these semantics.
Yeah.
And a lot, if they're serving you, great. But if they're not, I highly encourage you to re-engineer the definition often. You don't have to change it every time, but consider changing it.
Yeah.
And what do you really believe versus, oh, is this inherited from a previous boss or your parents or whatever? Kind of smaller stakes. But last December, I finally made the decision to cancel my Microsoft Office subscription. I have Apple iCloud. I'm a Mac user. I have Google, which is my house's career blind spot, and Microsoft Office, and that has OneDrive and like and I'm like, so many clouds.
Yeah.
And then it hit me. I'm like, why do I? Okay, I need Google because I've had the website. Not need, but I like it.
Yeah.
I'm a Mac person, and that makes sense. And all our pictures. Da, da, da. Why do I have Office? Then it hit me. A partner that I still know and I care about, but I don't work with anymore. 8 years ago, when I was sending him Keynote files, he's like, Juan, just get Microsoft Office. It's not that expensive, and it's just easier with the clients because when it converts, it wasn't as smooth. I have not worked with that guy for like 5+ years. Why am I still? It wasn't even the money.
Yeah.
Like even if they said, here's it for free, or Juan, we'll give you $1,000. I'm like, no,
I don't need it.
I need to get. And when it was gone, and I backed up stuff, whatever, it was like I lost 10 pounds. And I had all this mental space. And I remember I spent like days just like rearranging stuff.
That's so
and
great.
it feels so nice. And that part kind of picked up on my phone to really optimize my iCloud and my Google Drive or whatever it is. So that's a nerdiness thing, but that's
it's
hard
a good
work.
analogy though. It is a good analogy of just like of repositioning yourself or resetting or whatever it is, right? Like clearing out things that don't really need to be there anymore.
Marie,
but
you know Marie Kondo, or you ever seen that?
Yeah, yes.
Does it bring you
does
joy?
It bring you joy?
Or toss that shit.
Yes, yes.
And I think that's overly simple, but people make it way more complex. So start there.
Yes.
And do not lie to yourself. That's the skill. We lie to ourselves. Our brain is constantly lying because it thinks we're going to die if we're 1 minute late, or if we don't check our phone, or if we're not, whatever it is. And it's like, no, you're not going to die. There's an inconvenience if you miss your credit card payment, or if you, whatever it is, you don't get a house by the time you're 30 or whatever. But no, sometimes it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
The stakes are never that high.
Yeah,
I don't feel
exactly.
like in most cases they're never going to be that high, but we like to make them. I do want to quick touch on, because you mentioned it and I'm reminding you to talk about the discipline aspects.
Oh yeah, discipline. So I realized, and it's funny, even as you say it, or as you had said earlier, like, oh, that cringe isn't there, that trigger, that when people would say, you know, discipline is freedom, I'm like, shut up. But I also was like, no, it's not wrong. But why am I feeling that way? And I realized in journaling and talking, oh, when I hear discipline, I hear you need to do the things that other people say are important. That's not the definition of discipline. That's what I think it was. And I realized discipline is just prioritizing the things that I say are important. I want discipline, that kind. So I'm like, here I am sabotaging myself. So when you say, oh, the goals, and so really I could go and re-engineer my answer back to you of like, no, I am great at goal setting because I know I can change them at any point in time, and I'm not going to give myself 30 lashes because I moved the goalpost. Yeah, is it annoying sometimes? But it's my business. It's my life. And other people would call that undisciplined. But when I look at my values of leadership and family and small business, etc., nah, I'm right on the money, dude. And also, the world is changing super fast. So to have this same plan, and, you know, I get what's the Ray Dalio or all these stock people of just like, right. Yeah, that's a luxury for people who already have a lot of wealth. And I'm not saying, I think I'm rich in spirit and time, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's why I'm not those things. But I'm like, my goal isn't to die with a lot of wealth. My goal is to have what I have now. I keep saying this and it's kind of morbid, but it's not. To my wife, especially as things are up and down, I go, if I got hit by a bus or died, I wouldn't be sad. One, I wouldn't be here. But two, if I could be sad, I was like, I'm so happy with the way we've lived our life being together, but especially what I got to do. Now, is there way more I want to do and to see my kids grow up? Yes. So I'm not going out anytime soon.
Right.
But I don't have regret. I have things of like, oh, I want to do this or that. But when it comes to money, I don't idolize any millionaire, billionaire. There's few that I'm like, when I see how they interact with their kids, not the jobs that the kids have, but I'm like, you know, they said the true sign of wealth is, at least when you're a parent, is that your kids want to come back and visit. And it's like, you know, or the true sign of a good company culture is when former employees visit.
Yes.
They don't have to, or come back to work, not because they're desperate, but because they generally are like, hey, I miss working here. And I'm going to, you know, come back. Like, that's my goal. And I think I'm already there.
That's awesome. That is a great place to be, man, honestly.
And I didn't do it on purpose. I feel lucky, but also like, oh, because I took these risks.
Yeah.
Because I got off the ride when I realized I don't want to go this way.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm going, but I'm pretty sure that way is not for me.
Yeah. Well, and that's a good segue, because now let's talk about where you're at today.
Yeah.
And obviously the career blind spot, your work in this realm of helping people kind of navigate not just the elements of like, I suck at my job, or, you know, my boss is a piece of shit, which are elements for sure that you, I think, can help with, but more so, I think, from what I understand, you know, helping people kind of uncover those blind spots of like, what's preventing you from being better, or what's preventing you from accomplishing the things that you want to accomplish in what you're doing today, not just dumping it all, you know, deleting Microsoft Office and moving on. Like, how can you make it work? And I think that that's at least some semblance of what you're doing, but give me a little bit more, or give us a little bit more about what you're up to with Career Blind Spot and your coaching and everything.
You know, the one, for anyone who's interested so far, and definitely after I talk, I just put this on the store at careerblindspot.com. There's a $55 PDF, and I'll give you a discount code after this. But it's a PDF of the last 20 plus years of my experience with what I call 5 blind spots of talent, environment, resources, network, and skills. Not the sexiest words, but simple, powerful concepts that I see again and again, whether it's a leader or an employee who's miserable or somewhere in between. And so you can take yourself through that at your own, and it's designed for mainly either a leader or a career seeker. Like, you're going to change careers. Like, we're going to have you on my show and talk about your own experience. But even like a college student or a high school student who's like, I have no idea. Like, that's the hardest question. What do you want to be? What are you going to major in? It's like saying, who are you going to marry? Like, that's a huge, but it's not to say don't ask those questions, but you're expecting to have like a solid, fully formed answer. And, my heart goes out to the ones who actually do. Like, there's terms like physician suicide that are real phrases. Physicians, people who went to school, got the grades, have the job, have the title, and suicide. There's a misalignment there. I'm not saying the profession is bad, but the intentions, road to hell is paved with good intentions. So that type of success is important, but it is not going to make up for the internal. The other day I spoke in words, sang this right down the street at this lunch and learn. You know the song "This Little Light of Mine, I'm Gonna Let It Shine." Like, we all have this little fire. I don't know if you want to call it a soul or just energy, but when you're doing the work, all of a sudden, like, how did your battery just get charged? Like, what energizes me depletes someone else, and vice versa. So anyway, there's tools out there, and I do also offer a fractional like 20-minute Zoom where we can really extract. So that's a plug that I didn't ask, but you seem to be okay with it.
I'm glad you did. Mm-hmm.
But I realized, so the way I got started was I do DISC assessments, and worked at a company I used to work at TTI, Target Training International, based in North Scottsdale. I think they're 42 years in business. Worked directly for the late great founder. Talk about in my book about how we bumped heads towards the end, and I realized, I'm the one who changed. They're the multi-million-dollar company, global company. And so my start was doing workshops and teaching this to consultants and business leaders to better communicate, improve sales results, just good stuff. But over the years, especially the pandemic, I was like, I want to see the change. I don't want to just give the lecture or give the workshop. I don't want to just have a entertaining and engaging experience. It's already a high bar, and I loved it. And especially when people pay, then great, I'll do it. But I'm like, what are you going to do tomorrow? Like, I want to make the workplace better, not just have this little blip. And so because of the pandemic and because of the IVF and getting depressed, I was like, I need real skin in the game. I don't want to just sell. Selling assessments is a good business to be in. It's going to change with AI and stuff, but sure. I don't trust, or I should say the nuance isn't where I'd want it to be. Not to say it's terrible, but if I'm going to make the decisions I'm making now, I wouldn't leverage AI in the way that I do now. Not to say I don't leverage AI, not to say I wouldn't, but I like kind of like a doc. I still want the doctor performing the surgery through the machine. I don't want the machine just coming in and automating it. But I realize I need to improve the life of the leader, not just first and last, almost like bookends of like, I don't expect a leader to have a lot of compassion for their team if they don't have it for themselves. But if they have it for themselves, now it's got to roll out to the team. A good leader is not measured by their followers, but how many more leaders they create. The irony of a good leader or creating more leaders is these people might leave you. I give it like, call it the teenager paradox. Like teenagers are the first toxic employees. They know better. They don't necessarily do better, and hormones, all this stuff. But if you teach them well and all these things, they leave you. Hopefully they visit. But if you don't, they stay. And that's why I believe retention for the sake of it is not really a good thing. It's often a symptom of, yeah, this is a problem. Your leader's burnt out or incapable, or Peter Principle, promoted to the highest level of incompetency. And so it's the same tools, but I'm like, all right, hey, if this leader is trying to hire a new person, I can come in and help with that, but I need them to understand themselves, understand their team, so they're attracting the right person to either assimilate or disrupt. But it's always those same three things. And in terms of actually seeing that needle move, it's the individual. Like teams can come and jive, and don't get me wrong, like I never had a bad training. I've never had a bad engagement. Do things fizzle out after? Probably. Who knows? What I hear about a lot is 6 months later, hey Juan, that was great, I left this company, or hey, I'm less stressed, but things change. But if I'm really trying to make my dent in the universe, I need to improve this person's capacity to see, the leader's capacity to see the extent of their impact, and then to realize these are the people who can or can't do that job for you. And I'll bring it down this way. I don't think most employees, professionals, this includes teachers, cops, doctors, are A+. Shoot me or give me the hate mail. Now, I'm not saying they're not great. I'm not saying they don't know a lot, but especially all those people, they're overworked, underpaid. And I can see them shaking their head along. Yeah. So why would you be performing at your best level if you're overworked and underpaid? Those are oxymorons. Otherwise, that's why you'll never be underworked and better paid, because you're already doing a great job. So which is it? A little cynical, but C-. That's the average, whether I'm at Denny's and the waitress or my doctor, the group average, not say one industry. And there's always exceptions, and those are our favorite businesses, because those are usually properly compensated employees with flexible benefits, but we're also probably paying a premium, or there's some type of you get what you pay for. Yes. In most cases, or in many cases. But what I'll bring it down to is, I don't think most companies actually want high performers, what I would consider A+. LeBron James. I mean, we all want a superstar, but we want to win. And going back to the movie Moneyball, I think we mentioned that already, right? We did. Moneyball, you get the hits. You're trying to win the game. You're not trying to get another. What's the record in the MLB with the Japanese player?
Oh, with the home run record?
No. His contract. He's making like $700 million in like 10 years, and then he's getting paid. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, you don't need that. Shouldn't be the goal of any baseball team. The goal is World Series. How do we win World Series? Home or runs, and either base hits or home runs, etc. And so I was like, well, what do companies really want then if they don't want high performance? They want reliable performance. They want people who they're going to be there for the next 5 to 20 years and consistently deliver what they need. Not the bare minimum, but not above and beyond, because they're going to burn out or they're going to leave.
Yes.
And so I'm not saying don't try your hardest, but it's kind of like dating and telling everyone you need to treat everyone you go on a date with like they're your wife or your husband or their like, no, that you can say that, but that's stupid. And so I'm not saying don't go out and be a high performer. I'm saying be realistic, because also, when's the last time you tipped 80%? Did you go above and beyond it as a consumer? No, jackass. But if you really liked a business, you probably would.
Yeah.
You'd probably write a Yelp review or whatever it is, but that's not the default when you go to the gas station. You just want your gas and not to get robbed at the pump. Low expectations. So, and they're making you laugh, but it's like, that's what Career Blind Spot's about. It's like, how can I help a leader like reality check themselves, but then also grow their compassion to do the work that they signed up for? That's what the money's for, but also to do it with integrity and if not enthusiasm. So now they have a fighter's chance to get these people to either perform a little bit better but the second part is more important, with more gratitude and space of like, look, my peers sometimes are annoying, but I guess I am too. So here's how we get the same results with a lot less effort. So yeah, my goal is to make work better. 40 hours weeks or only in office. I get it, but those are antiquated ideas. You don't need that to get the same results. And if you do, I'm probably not the person for you. I'm looking for innovative. I'm looking for true capitalist leaders who are like, how do we optimize and treat people well, especially the ones who are helping us make the leaps and be more successful.
Yes, I love that. Do you see that there is a shift potentially happening in the workforce, in organizations? Because it seems like for the longest time, it's been about very much a bottom line mentality and disposable employees. They know that there's going to be a revolving door. They don't necessarily seem to care because there's plenty of, it's a buyer's market, right? Where they can just continue to get, new talent in there. But do you see a shift happening where they're wanting to try to retain more?
Industry wise, if I was more of a data guy, I could probably give you more specifics. The cop-out answer is yes, but in all sorts of directions. Every industry is slightly different. Like even where we're at today, Galvanize used to be way more hopping even at night. And even pre-pandemic, things changed because one of the facilities went all online. And there are things you can control, things you can't. And hell, the pandemic was way more innovative than more businesses ever were.
Right.
Like telehealth had been a thing forever, but they didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
And then they had to do it. And then a lot of them liked it more. So I, actually we went in, we took the half day. Today's Wednesday, and my wife and I saw a movie, and we were by American Express where she used to work, which that building is empty, but it was like a campus. They had like security and this and all this like fancy stuff. It was gone. And she's just like, this is so weird to see. It's like seeing your high school turned into like a Burger King or something.
Yeah, sure. Or just like a ghost town.
Yeah, and it had been that way for like, I think at least a decade, if not two. It was like it's a huge building over in North Phoenix. So like to think how many employees, American Express is still around. But the short is, it's like it's happening, but it's like climate change. Is Arizona getting hotter, but then other places are getting, we got, I don't know what the word is, but my heart goes out to these extreme weather. Like it's hot here, but when a tsunami is not hitting us right now, or these major fires, and but to say like, hey, the trends are, things are more extreme. There is no halfway middle ground. And if there is where you're at, it's like I wouldn't hold my breath. Andrew Yang, a failed presidential candidate years ago, had a book, The War on Normal People, and that dude was so spot on. Even then, like, I wasn't surprised, but like, it's basically, if you're on one hand knowledge workers, I feel like they're the most stressed, but also we have way more opportunities than we want to admit. They're like, but I majored in business. They're like, it doesn't matter. Get on the computer and go learn a new skill that people are going to pay you for, because this whatever media thing you did 20 years ago isn't carrying the same weight. It's not that it's useless, it's just you have to reinvent, you have to rebrand yourself. You have to be like Madonna, rebrand yourself. That's who Lady Gaga used to be, kids. But not really, but close. But then there's like being a plumber, being a contractor, like those are solid jobs right now.
Yes.
Right now. We'll see how long that lasts, because especially all these, what my wife calls stucco mansions and poorly made homes, that stuff's not going to last, especially when the 3D printing machine is going to do it for a fraction of the rate.
Right.
And all the, with tariffs and shipping and the irony of, well, it's going to be cheaper here now, but then this and that, like macroeconomics is complicated. And I'm a big fan of technology. I love it, but it's more Wild West. And I don't mean that in the sense of like the fun movies that we used to watch. I mean it in like there's no rules. And the murderer who just killed the sheriff, they're the sheriff now. And
Yes.
or the little boy who just turned 13 and he's the old, now they're in charge. And so on one hand it's exciting, but it's like you just never know.
Yes.
And going back to not just my book, but the purpose of like not throw out the rules, but double check the rules. Why are you working 40 hours a week? Why do you drive to work? Or why do you da 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 da? If you're miserable and you work from home, start with yourself. Don't worry about the world. You need to fix that. You have a job and you work from home. If that is not as the best as it could be, that is on you and no one else. Now, I'm not saying there's not other stuff you can affect, but you better sit in a cool side of your house or like do something. You can control that. But yeah, as in terms of pay, benefits, healthcare, like we have good insurance. It's not. Sometimes I'm like, really? Is it
This
really?
is it? Yeah.
So yeah, it's like a firework with other fireworks of trends, and it's just happening faster. And I mean, I don't know how you're going to edit this, but my guess is AI is going to do you some favors that will cut down on time and somewhere cut someone out of a job in 1%.
Right.
Way to go, Dave. No.
I do it all myself. I'm saving myself time.
Yeah.
But to that point, yeah, it is. It's changing at such a rapid pace. It is.
Yeah.
It is very challenging to keep up with it because trends are changing in industries all the time. Yeah, it is. It is very difficult. But I was just curious from a just an overview, 30,000-foot view of you and what you've been doing and your work. If you're seeing like, here's management saying or leadership saying we're seeing a lot of turnover.
Yes, I mean I would say probably the bigger change is the downsizing, especially with like AI.
Yeah.
Like, hey, and I just saw, I don't know how accurate, but like, hey, now all these companies that laid off people to replace them with ChatGPT are rehiring them at way higher to fix all the messes.
Yes.
Which again, I love business, but a lot of not ever like. Well, I'm gonna say it. I'm not anti-gun. I wouldn't say I'm pro-gun, but like I doesn't bother me that my neighbors have guns, or at least I don't worry about it. But they're like, why don't you get one? I'm like, because I'd rather be a good neighbor. There's a lot of others. If safety is the question, but I was like, what I am concerned if something does happen, y'all aren't Bruce Willis in the movie with your aim. That's when I get worried. And so especially I don't want to be Bruce Willis. And I'm not saying like, yeah, especially in that moment, Juan, would you have that? But there's a lot of other things. That's just my thought process. With ChatGPT or business owners, like they make a lot of wrong decisions. And sadly, or I don't know, maybe not, but interestingly, you see all these CEOs get these huge payouts for failed businesses. So we're going to keep seeing that they're going to like marketing's usually the first department to go. And that one I think is anything that's like creative. You can make images. I feel guilty. I'll use images for my podcast, but it's not going to eliminate the artist. But it is drastically going to change. So what I would advise, you didn't ask for this, but I think is the trend that I'm seeing is if you are someone who actually wants compensation at a high level and you want to enjoy your work, the trend that I see is like you have to do the Madonna thing. You have to get more comfortable with reinventing yourself more often. Like the first one's going to be hard. The second one's going to be a little less hard, but still hard. Whereas before, no, go back in time 20 years, 40 years. No, grandpa just turned wrenches or typed a report once a week. And it's easy to pick on older generations of like, just send your resume or da-da-da. Like they don't understand. Like they're playing Atari and you're in a Oculus. Like, but just in the same way you play a new video game, you have to learn the thing. Like, so it's like people, I think the biggest trend that I see is a lot of good people with unrealistic professional expectations that you got to do something about it. And I don't want to talk too much about you unless you're comfortable, but your experience with this transition was like, hey, I have a certain type of boss and I'm working way more. Like and feel free to tell me if I'm wrong here, but there was a lot you could have done about that before. I'm not saying you did anything wrong, but I'm also glad that you're here today.
Yes.
And having boundaries and saying no, it's uncomfortable and you might be fired, but yeah, you might be fired and you might save your own fucking life.
Yes.
You know, but you're not taught that. You're taught, shut up, do your job, and sleep on the weekends.
Yeah, suck it up type of mentality.
And that is not from healthy people. That is from a scarred generation that was better than the previous.
Right. Yeah, we definitely have iterated more towards obviously mental health and self-care and all these things, which are phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
I love that I'm in this lifetime of all this change. Yeah. It's so exciting. I mean, I definitely think about like my grandmother who had to live through the Depression, and I have so much respect for, the greatest generation and all that kind of stuff. But I also feel like, I was thinking about that today, like, bro, our generation has got to be pretty great, given all of the things that we have experienced. And I don't want to take, credit for inventing the internet, but we were around when the internet didn't exist. You know what I mean? And we have helped shape it into for better and certainly for worse, but and now we have AI and like all of these crazy things that like, it's
I feel like we're, I just said to my wife, we live in Midtown Phoenix and we homeless and transient and, I love it. But at night, it's different. But it's not to say I wouldn't go out, but also if my wife's like, hey, I'm going to go for a walk, I'd be like, take this bat, But then I'm like, well, am I equal opportunity? Am I like, but these are reality and things like I never want to get mad at someone questioning. I still might, but I want to give them, anyone, especially myself, that space to be like, is this still what I believe? And it's, everything's always different when you're in that situation, and the change is just so rapid and the expectation, like kind of an abrupt change, but you can rein me back in if I go too far. I will argue with friends, less so now because I think I won, but more progressive ideological friends that we agree on probably 90% of the stuff, but they're like, man, it's a manager's job to make their employees happy. I'm like, no, it isn't. And they're like, well, we disagree. Or I say it's not. And they're like, well, I disagree. I'm like, okay. I go, I think it's a manager's job to pay a proper incentive to do the job, provide the resources, and shoot, what was the other one? Proper pay, resources, and then like they check in and course correct. I go, I would love it for them to make happy, but if they're not doing that stuff, then happiness, you're distracting yourself. However, I will agree with you. It is their job to make their employees happy. If part of that is, hey, I've paid you properly, I've given you the tools, and I've checked in on you, it's not working out. So I'm going to make you happy by letting you go. But that's not how most people think of letting happy. So I want to be careful with those words. And I think there's still resistance, and that's just me being a contrarian. But talk about mental health. If I'm an employee, I don't want my boss talking to me about my emotions and this and that. I train EQ. I talk about emotions, but I'm like, if a boss can't even properly pay, give the proper resources, and course correct, I don't expect them to do anything at a minimum level, yet alone high expectations. Now we want them to be psychologists. Now we want them to say pronouns. Now we want them to be DE&I, all this other stuff. I love all those things. I am supportive of it, but not in the absence of a proper compensation, resources, and support.
The basics, the C minus, the C plus expectations of that. Yeah.
And a C minus, you know what a C minus is? It's an airplane that lands 20 minutes late. I'll take that every time. Unless you want to pay A plus, but now you're going to pay 5 times your ticket price. Yeah. You probably still aren't going to get there. Right. Like, we live in a society with other freaking people, man. And so people's expectations, what everyone else is supposed to do, it's silly. You know, I get mad at my 2.5-year-old son, and then I'm like, he's 2.5 years old. Like, I brought him into this world. Like, you need to chill out, Juan. And part of that, getting him to learn his emotion, is me. Like, if I can show up and take a breath and all this other stuff, but he's still going to be a little butthead sometimes, but he's learning. But those of us who are adults, I still have sympathy for, because it's like, well, what did they learn? And now it's almost like they deserve more sympathy because this has been ingrained in them for decades.
Yeah.
And now there's urgency. And like, I like when my wife, she left voluntarily American Express, she was so burnt out. And the visual I had was she got super depressed after a couple months of not working. And the irony is my business had taken off, and I'm like, we just got married, a house. And so I'm like, yeah, take 6 months, take a year, 18 months later. And even sooner than that, her identity was in her name tag, not literally. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I think people think they're their jobs.
Yeah.
And clearly you're not, but it's like, I'm a doctor, I'm a customer service, I'm a hippie who works at Chiba Hut, whatever it is. Like, yeah, that's how you earn a living. But the other part where I'm like, it's a big foundation. Life is hard enough, but if you have a good relationship with your job, it's still hard, but now you can have integrity, enthusiasm, and hopefully some money in the bank. But if you do not, inflation's here, civil unrest, ICE might freaking tear your family apart.
Right.
Like, shit's real. Yeah. So if people do not have basic things in their job, yet alone in their life, yeah, I tell people, I was like, I don't vote for myself, not to make this too political, but I was like, I'm smart, I'll figure things out. I have friends and resources and people who love me and have skills. It's other people who are so disconnected, even wealthy people, that I'm like, I worry when there's people during the housing, the boom before, they have all these rentals, and then boom.
Yeah.
Like, is it all their fault? Well, you got greedy. Did you think about but also they didn't know.
Yes.
And I don't want to judge, but my point is, like, I know I have to get knocked on my ass a whole lot before I end up on the street, and my kids. And again, that's not that I want that to happen, but I'm also kind of expecting it. Like, something's going to happen. Like IVF, I didn't play college football. I didn't serve in the military. So that camaraderie, that's kind of a hater on. That punk rock part, no, I don't need that.
Yeah. Okay.
But being in IVF and we were lucky enough to come out with kids and have a even stronger relate, but it breaks you multiple times.
Yeah.
So even someone, I've known too many relationships that did not last because of, like, whether there is a kid or isn't the kid. But when I meet other people, it's like, I don't know you, but I know you. And thankfully, between my job and my wife's job, we had good foundations. But also, were we lucky? Yes. But we also took the risk, and we asked. And we didn't always get no. I mean, the universe told us, no, you can't have a kid. And then we said, watch us.
Yeah.
Here's a credit card. Here's another one. Yeah. But anyway, that's a long way of, like, I'm, again, Wild West. I'm excited, but I am scared. But the big trend is, like, you can't expect your if you're thinking, I need a job that's full time and pays, you need to raise your expectations. It's like saying, I need to get married to someone who is the opposite sex of me, and that's it. Mm-hmm. Like, kinda, but not really if you want to be happy or anywhere near it. That is the trend that I think people are expecting. I deserve this because of my degree and my skill. And maybe they do, but I don't think they're going to get it with that mindset. They have to expand and be like, how can I ride these bigger tsunamis that are coming, versus expecting that someone's going to tow me along because of merit or morals. I think morals are subjective. I wish everyone subscribed to my morals. We'd all be a better place. But yeah. The irony is, no, even if we could do that, I'd be like, no, that's wrong. You should have your own morals. And that's what makes us human in a society and democracy, all these other things. So I will run for office in 12 years, and that's it. No.
Vote for Juan. Yeah. Vote for Juan. No, that's very cool. And I like that because it's really, it's actually great, because your book, A Newark Mindset, be sure to check it out, guys. It's easy. I'm not a big book reader, easy to read, but it's really neat because it helps. in many ways. But the cool thing that I like about you, the work that you're doing, the book, the podcast, all of it, is that you are, and you say it right here, the truth about leaders, jobs, ourselves at work. And it really is like you're holding people a little bit accountable. And it's like, that's the truth, right? It's not like, oh, here's the truth about, it's like, the truth is you're kind of an asshole. I'm kind of an asshole. My boss is kind of an asshole. Like that's the truth. And that's really what you dig in here. Not, you don't say that, but that's what I like close. About it. It's very real. Yeah. And I think that we're a little bit in short supply of that in society, maybe is that genuine realness, the ability to say it how it needs to be said. Mm-hmm. And not sugarcoat it or whatever. And anyway, all that to be said, guys, definitely please check out the book. Juan's doing phenomenal work out there. The Career Blind Spot podcast. Yes. If you liked what you heard here, there's lots of episodes that he really digs into specific topics. They're much shorter than this, which is great. So you can kind of do it on your way to work, but really, honestly, Juan, the stuff that you're doing is awesome.
Thank you.
I love that you're continuing to kind of iterate and build upon what you've learned in the past with your job at TTI, with all of you are very high emotionally intelligent.
Thank you. Tell my wife.
Yes. But also high IQ, I believe too. I think you can see things in a way that allows people to understand. You are able to, for me, dumb it down, which is fantastic. But really, the work that you're doing out there is important. And so anybody out there who's looking at trying to maybe figure out why things suck at work, why my boss sucks, why I suck, whatever it is, there's content here that Juan's created. And of course you do a lot of speaking engagements as well. And
I really, in 2026, I want to transition more to full-time dad and still do my stuff, but mainly direct coaching and more keynotes on these topics. Overall arching theme, leadership is anything but lonely or should not be lonely. I get why it is, but when you are truly leading, aka delegating to people you trust to deliver on high results, you shouldn't feel lonely. That's your job, is to be able to connect with people and build that trust.
Yeah.
But if no one taught you how to do that, I don't blame you. But if you want to be happy, that's the opportunity / hack that you got to figure out. And not that I'm saying you're wrong, but like I don't hold any of my clients accountable. I'm like, if you change your mind, great. All I ask you is to tell me the truth by first telling yourself the truth. And I don't know is a great answer in my book. You are going to change your mind. You're human. Life happens. You had a left arm last week. Now you don't. Like, we underestimate the significant events that happen in our life. Pandemic had one every other day, it seemed. Yeah. And when you make light of it, it's not the worst thing, but it is, you're carrying it with you. It's like you're traveling and you got a pair of dirty underwear in your suitcase. You never wash it. You don't wear it, but it's still in there. And you know it. And other people are suspecting. So you say I dumb things out. I'm like, no, I want to, one, if you get it, that's what makes me happy. Mm-hmm. When people do my stuff, whether workshop or book, look, if I see you on Jeopardy and you get all the career blind spot answers right, or disc questions or EQ, and you win a bunch of money, that'd be great. But if I find out you hate your job, I feel like I failed you. But if you get them all wrong, but I find out that you have a good relationship, you're a reliable employee, or you're really happy, that's what I'm trying to do. Because what else? Like, I think we're a happier society. This is not like, I think Hitler said some awful thing of like idle hands, like you got to make people work. But I have my own version of like, I think we're actually happy when we're doing work that we care about, not like breaking rocks or building a castle for some megalomaniac. But you need to figure out that work. It's like when your friend says, hey, where do you want to go to lunch? I don't care, whatever you want. Like, no, you need to know what you want for lunch. Now, do you want to be a good friend, supportive? Okay, fine. But you shouldn't be that every day.
Yes.
Pack your lunch. Figure out what's a quality, nourishing meal for yourself. figure out what a quality, nourishing work environment is, and then try to get a job that gets you closer, if not there, but you'll never finish. It's like I married my wife and it was great. Every day's not great. That's why I married her, because I don't want to work hard like this for anyone else. Like Jess, I was like, oh, you think I would do this for someone else? Like, no, I get sick of people really fast. I love them, but I don't want to go home and live and cohabitate with most people, including family that I have, especially family that I have.
Family.
So do you know how special you are in my book? Now go to sleep. No. But anyway, I don't even know where I was going.
No, that was wonderful, man. I appreciate that. And yeah, again, you're doing big things, man. Honestly, I love what you're up to. It's awesome to see somebody out there who has a purpose, a purposeful mission. You know, you're out there. I mean, you're educating people. You're giving back. You're doing awesome things, man.
Thanks, man. I mean, it wasn't on purpose, but it also wasn't an accident.
Yeah.
I'll give you some stuff to put in show notes, but if anyone's listening and you have questions, please reach out. You know, Dave's a neighborhood local first guy, and I think I work with clients all over the world, mostly the country, but it's your neighbors, your home, your community. You know, and if you can if you can frequent and consume with businesses that life is already like infinitely better on that. And especially in reverse, as now people are buying your products or services or seeing your art or whatever it is, like what else are you going to do? You know, and there's so many ways to isolate and detach. And sometimes, you might want to do that. And there's nothing wrong with guilty pleasures, but when you're doing everything right, or as much more right, they're just pleasures. Yeah. And that's my hope, is that you realize that. And I'll say one last thing. My podcast, we're about to hit roughly 200 episodes, so I might do something like a live event or something. We'll see. But it's trash. There's some good episodes. Maybe I should. It's chaos. I just call my own podcast trash. It's chaos. The first episode, some are 5 minutes, some are 10, some are an hour, some are 20. The last year has had more of a pattern of like 15 to 20 minutes, but like that's my punk rock garage band that I'm now taking more on the road. It's my art. It's my canvas. I think everyone needs their version of that. Not necessarily a podcast, but find your sandbox to build and collaborate with other people and give yourself patience and give other people grace, but you won't give other people grace if you don't give yourself grace, and make something to better your neighbors. That's it. You won't regret it. I guarantee it. It will be hard and you'll curse, but you're probably already doing that now. So do it for something you care about.
Preach, man. I love that. That's amazing. Good. Now I do have one final question. Day, dude. Yeah, you're like, I could go. You're like, I'm hitting my second wind here.
Yeah, I just
you're
woke
like,
up.
It's already past my bedtime. So, but I do want to ask you, like I ask all my podcast guests, one final question, and that is, what to you makes someone legendary?
Someone who doubled downs on their values when they had every reason not to. Like, for example, I'd like to think I'd be legendary if some evil oligarch or billionaire, won't name any names, offers me a lot of money to do my podcast, but their way. And I'm like, no. And it doesn't mean I stop or whatever. But I don't just say no. It's not no. It's why I say it. And I think, when the hero is not tempted by the alluring, treasure or whatever it is. And so, I think, whether it's a local business that has went up against the big corporation or the corporation that took a stand and lost customers because they really believed in something. Like, that's one of the things that's kind of hard when I'm like, oh, I really respect this company for doing X. Actually, I think I can say it. It's your podcast, but during the pandemic, I think Mountainside Fitness, kind of a conservative slant, but the way they were pushing back against the masks, they were like, hey, we're separating the treadmills, we're wearing masks. And they still got like corridor. I think they sued and I think they won, but I'm like, I really respect that. Like, that is a legend. I will tell my kids about that story. And I'm not like anti-conservative, although that word kind of has transformed its meaning. But that stood out in my book. Like these are their values, and they're walking the line. I'll always respect that. And definitely, like when someone says, "This is my value," but I never see you defend it. That's not cowardly, but it's not legendary.
I like that, man. I like that. Well said. Well said. Well, thanks so much, everybody, for listening. Again, check out Juan Kingsbury on LinkedIn?
Yeah, LinkedIn, you can follow me. There's a Career Blind Spot page on LinkedIn. Otherwise, the good stuff is mainly on Instagram at Career Blind Spot. And then the podcast, we're doing more video on YouTube. Otherwise, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and then you can also find it on the website careerblindspot.com along with that store. And I'm gonna give you a coupon so they can get a discount on whether it's the book or whatever. I'm slowly adding things on there. It's really designed for the people who are more paying out of pocket, because otherwise I still do my corporate speaking and executive coaching. But
no discounts for corporate.
Yeah, well, we'll see. If you're local, you're a business. Okay. And I mean, actually, I just went to North Carolina. We gave them a huge discount. I'm not quick to do it, but I have my reasons. They rehabilitate dogs. And so my friend, we partnered, Justin Foster, of Foster Thinking, and he goes, "Hey, could you do this?" I'm like, we met with him. I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's easy." Like, I love dogs, and amazing. That's not easy work. And so, we went in there to help with the team, and but yeah, I'm not quick to give discounts, but I am quick to work with people.
That's good.
And also that's why this stuff online is digital products. So I'm like, it's here for people who aren't quite ready to make the big commitment, but will get enough to move the needle, and at the very least feel lighter. Like, you're not alone. Work is hard enough, but I'm giving you permission that you can have a lot more fun, but also if you want fulfillment, you have to figure out how to have fun and get results. Like, you can't skip one. It's not, you said balance. I was like, it's a dance. Have you ever like danced with, like, not like booty shaking, grinding? I see you. No. But like, have you ever like danced with someone, you as a man, or I should say the lead, you can't force it. But as the person who is following, I don't know, being led, you have to allow yourself. And it's also very sexy when you're doing it right. Like and that to me is more of life than just, hey, I gotta work hard and then rest. And that's one way to do it. But I realized, no, I am playing when I'm doing my hardest work. And sometimes I eat shit and I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? But just like my son's, imaginary Fitbit, like, that's thousands of calories later. And is calories really the goal, or is it to have fun?
Right.
And yeah.
Go out there, have fun, enjoy life, because it's short. And with that, yes, make sure you check out the book, check out all of the links in the description, guys. Please go support Juan, what he's up to. Go educate yourselves. And with that, thank you again so much for watching. This is the Legends of Zegan podcast. Don't forget, be legendary and stay legendary. Thanks, Juan.
Thanks, man.
We'll see you guys later.